All right, here we are, preparing to go live. Boom, bang, boom. We may be live, we may not be live. I see it's still preparing. If we are live, my bad. Let's see. All right, here we are. Yeah, we're live, man. We're live here. It's Word Wrestling Live. Again, thank you out there for the support. I hope we're making a difference, getting some good people on here. And again, we have another Florida coaching legend, somebody that's been around wrestling a long, long time, a great wrestling mind, 30 years in coaching, and that might be light. He's down at Countryside High School. He was a FHSAA tournament director for 10 years, official for 4 years, two-time Virginia state champ himself. Hampden-Sydney College. He's coached 9 state champs. He's had a finalist in his program each of the last 10 years. And, we'll ask him. I see here where he coached a future Olympian. We'll ask him about that. And he's here with us today. Coach Mark Prince, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's an absolute honor to talk to you.
Super. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, fantastic. I know we spoke a little bit prior to coming on, but first things first, this COVID and how it's affected kind of the off season wrestling. I know our home is Florida, so I know it's affected wrestling worldwide, but here in Florida, how has it affected your off season? And I know that you've made some adjustments now to kind of combat it.
Right. Well, I mean, first of all, my son qualified for the end. We finished the state tournament, and then my son qualified for the NCAAs, and we were all excited to go up to Minnesota and watch him compete for the 4th time. And then, before we even got there, everything shut down, and it's been, a big roadblock. And I mean, personally, I was going stir crazy for the first 2 months, if you will. And then I guess sometime towards mid-May, I had some parents approach me, and they had a facility, a warehouse that was kind of sitting idle. And I happen to have some wrestling mats, and they're like, "Come on, get our kids back on the mat." And, I said, "Well, let's wait till the gym opens up." And so when they cut the gyms loose, we went back in, and then we started going. And, it's been interesting. It's small group. We don't have a bunch of kids, but they've worked really hard. I think everybody's been healthy. I think we've had more progress in the last 8 weeks than I've ever seen, because maybe there's not as many distractions for them, but they've been showing up. And really, as a coach, I haven't had to worry about trying to get them ready for a certain competition. So we've been really concentrating on positions and moves, and just trying to become better wrestlers and understand the sport, as opposed to just, trying to focus on winning. So
have you found yourself having to adjust how you're coaching them or what they're doing on the mat? Or is it, if they're in the room and you've taken their temperature and they pass all that, then it's go ahead and wrestle?
Pretty much. I mean, that's a tough call, and I think it's a personal call. Obviously, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to see anybody else get sick. But and everybody signed waivers. I've had a facility where the Palm Harbor guys have been in our room separately for about 8 weeks. Prior to them, they're just going to start up a new facility for themselves here soon. But so I've tried to just keep it going for everybody, if you will. And we've had kids from 10 different schools, but it's a tough call. I mean, we have little kids that come in now. Our little kids program's going again, and parents are aware, but they want to keep their kids active, I guess, off the Xbox, what have you. And knock on wood, so far so good. I mean, but it's still a concern. I mean, it's not, and I hate to say I'm throwing caution to the wind, and I'm sure there's some people that don't agree with it, and I'm not trying to really swim upstream, but I'm trying to keep the sport going a little bit too, so.
Yeah. And I think you understand too. I mean, you have a parent you have a wife who's a teacher. So
yep.
You're not one of those gung-ho, totally against stopping everything. You understand that, well, I'm not for my wife going back to work because it could affect her, but I'm okay with doing this because we're doing it differently. It's small groups, it's things like that. So I don't think you're one of those guys out there going, hey, it's a hoax, it's all a lie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not burying my head in the sand, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I'm hoping that you know, when it does come back, that, you know, the guys can have fun with it and do well. And, you know, I think the big thing is just trying to keep these guys active and involved. You know, I know myself, I was going totally bananas for the first 2 months. You know, I'm rebuilt my dock, I rebuilt a bridge. I mean, it was crazy, you know, so.
Yeah, I got to imagine, like, not, you know, I mean, my wife and I are blessed to have a house that has a pool and a big enough yard right now. So where our kids have been able to kind of not completely go nuts and keep themselves active, swimming, whatever. I
Right.
know if, you know, last summer our house flooded and we were stuck in a little apartment with the four of us. And I could imagine if this happened then,
Oh,
my wife might be like, "Go get COVID." So I gotta, you know, I got to imagine that there's a lot of parents out there that have gotten to that point too, where they're like, "Look, we live in a 1-bedroom house, a 2-bedroom house, a little apartment in the neighborhood, and we've got all these kids. At some point, um, the anxiety and everything is driving them crazy. They got to get."
I mean, I'll say, I mean, I respect it. I mean, you know, I've got a daughter who's gone through a surgery recently and stuff. And so I'm trying to keep her under lock and key. And I think, you know, it's a personal decision to a certain respect, you know, and hopefully, you know, everybody's, you know, aware of their own body and you know, I know we had one kid that was worried at one point. His mom took him off, got him tested, he was fine, you know, but, you know, I mean, I think everybody needs to be conscious, self-conscious and make good choices, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And as these clubs open, I mean, I think the best thing that we see around the country is, you know, educate yourself on the proper ways to open up, the proper things to do, the proper waivers to have, the proper temperatures and how to do it, and
Sure.
go from there. I mean, nothing is going to be 100% foolproof, I'm sure, but if we can have some sort of proper prevention, I think that we'll start to see wrestling. You know, it's hard because it's hard for us to, we're a sport, like you say, that we have to touch each other. So
Yeah, there, I mean, there's no safe distancing. It's not
yeah,
happening,
yeah.
you know,
So
and unfortunately, you know, the powers that be, they have to be ultra conservative, you know, and I respect their decision. And I guess what I'm just trying to do is, you know, maybe I'm a, you know, cowboy here or something, but just trying to fill a void, you know, right now for those that want to still do it and feel comfortable doing it, you
yeah,
know.
I think that's okay. I think
Yeah,
that's great. As long as, you know, everything is being done properly. What you don't want to see is people just saying, "Hey, we're going to open up and it's going to be just like it was," and just allow anybody into the room. That's going to be.
right.
I don't. I think you would. You're not even doing that. You're opened up, but
Yeah,
they have to
so,
sign a waiver. They have to get their.
yeah. I mean, like we're doing a rumble here coming up a week from tomorrow, and you know, we're going to be doing waivers and temperature checks and that kind of thing, and you know, where people have to acknowledge, you know, hey, okay, you know, I haven't felt bad, I haven't had a fever, you know, things like that prior to, I haven't traveled, you know, the various things that the lawyers like to put in those things.
Yeah,
And once again, unfortunately, you know, like I said to you before, I mean, it's still a concern because I mean, even these major league, you know, franchises, teams, they're not bulletproof or foolproof, and they've got way better resources than I could ever have or hope to have, or any of us could, you know, at our level. So, you know, I just hope everything goes well, you know, and I mean, you know, I think it will.
we'll see. Yeah, Coach Longano said the new facility is insane. August 1st clinic and Rumble will be great.
Yep. Well, we actually just picked up a mat today. We purchased a mat that's 38 by 38, and plus I had a couple other mats. So our facility is almost 2,400 square feet, which is pretty darn big, and actually bigger than what we have in the high school. And we're just excited to, you know, mix it up and make the best of a weird situation, you know.
Yeah,
So,
for sure, and it's good. I think precaution is good. We obviously live in a state that has a lot of people in it, and with a lot of different opinions. So we're obviously seeing cases fluctuate. So hopefully we'll see that back in. But I mean, you've been coaching here in Florida, and and around for a long, long time. I mean, what have you seen as far as the changes and kind of how has your goals and approach kind of changed as you go through different decades and see this sport grow?
Well, I mean, obviously parents and things have changed through the years. I mean, I remember when I first came out, parents were, if you jumped on your kid, they were like, "Oh, thanks for taking an interest." Then there was a period there where I felt like parents were like, "I can't deal with my kid. Coach, you do it." And then there was a period, I think, where I saw where, "Who are you to tell my kid what to do?" So, I mean, it's kind of, you know, gone through some different stages. I mean, as coaching, when I was in my 20s and done wrestling in college, I was in the room and all excited to still, take out my frustration on the kids and feel like I still got it and maybe try to prove something. Cause I mean, this is as much as it's an ego sport. You gotta, you're going out there and you're throwing down. And then you hit your 30s and then, you're still interested in trying to help the kids, but you still want to, you're still hanging on a little bit. Then I think maybe when I got in my 40s and I had my own children and I was trying to help them and my body's all broken down and I don't want to get embarrassed by my own kids, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to coach. I'm not doing it anymore. I don't need to embarrass myself. So, and then now it's more, I'm in my 50s and, I'm more interested in helping kids gain confidence in themselves and become, believers in themselves and find a way to battle through the struggles in this world, because as I say to the kids a lot of times, if you keep your grades up and, do this sport, sell out, life's going to deal you blows and challenges, and you're going to be ready to meet those challenges head on, without any fear and just, keep swinging the axe. And a lot of kids are trying to find themselves and that's the most important thing. And, some are, I mean, we had one gal on the team last year and she was overweight and, I remember running with her one time, we do a 3-mile run and I just kept, "Hey, just don't stop. And she finally, by the end of the season, she did a 5K and she was, so you just don't know. I mean, you're just trying to help people, I think, and give them confidence and accomplish something, down the road. So
Yeah, I see those boys over your shoulders there.
oh,
I think you might still be able to take them, huh?
no. I had my shoulder replaced 2 years ago, and I think I'm going to get the other one replaced maybe later on. So anyway,
Travis Bates says all Coach Prince does is develop state championships, state champs, and then Joe Logano, 2,400 square feet of wrestling characters, everything. So some good shout outs to you, Coach.
thanks.
And, yeah, I think.
I mean, I've had success making state champions, but I think in the end, you can't promise a state title for I mean, not everybody's going to win. So, in the end, hopefully, they're getting something more of it. And I've said, I mean, even my twins, wrestling was a means to an end. When it came time to go to college, they went to the Naval Academy. They could have gone other D1, programs and tried to, be national champs. And it was more, and thank goodness they did, because now they have jobs. So they're off my payroll, which is a good thing. So anyway, out of my 5 kids, I got 3 off, 2 to go. So anyway.
Nice. Yeah. And not bad to get them through the academy. There's a lot of good kids go through those academies. So
Yep. And we just had another one that just finished up with me, who's started his plebe year at the Naval Academy. So especially proud of those kind of guys, because what they go through there is just, I mean, obviously they have to have tremendous character and discipline, and what they go through there is just silly compared to regular college. Not that, it's just a different level of commitment,
And I mean, speaking of that, what do you think the addition of Colat's going to do for that program?
Well, I think, I mean, and Joel was a great coach. I think Carrie is going to, and we've seen a little change. The Iowa style has been a certain way for a long time, and I think now, with Cale Sanderson and company and so forth, people are learning to take college athletes and trying to just hone their skills, has tried to redevelop into something else. And And I think Colat's going to do a fantastic job technically. I mean, and the kids that go to the Naval Academy are good wrestlers, not great wrestlers, but when they go to the Naval Academy, I mean, you see kids that maybe didn't really compete nationally, and then after they get done with the hard-nosed things that go on at the academy, they do compete. And I think now with Carey, technically, they're going to be at another level, and I'm looking forward to them to beating Army this year. So anyway, that's
Nice.
we've got a 4-year drought, so hopefully they'll punch the ticket this year.
Yeah, it can't. I mean, they say arguably he was one of the greatest to ever do it, right? So
Yeah, no, I mean, he, you know, first time I ever met Carey, he wouldn't remember it. My one son was, I think he was only 6 months old, and Glenn Goodman had him at Florida Pride Camp along with a number of other studs. But I think Kendall Cross was there that same year. And anyway, so I saw him when he was, 1996 it was. So that was before, you know, he wasn't a world champ or anything yet, you know. So anyway,
1996, I remember that year. Yep, I think I was 20.
well,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah. I think I'm catching up to you.
Yeah, well, I hope I can stay ahead. That means I'm staying on the north side of the dirt. So that's
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I know you've got a something coming up at your new gym.
so yeah. So we've got a little rumble, an open house situation going on next Saturday. So the idea of the club or the facility is really to open it up to anyone and everyone. It's not exclusively just for the Countryside guys. Like I said, matter of fact, we even had the Palm Harbor guys were in there 2 hours, 4 days a week. You know, so if a team wants to come in and use the room, you know, I mean, obviously there's fees involved, but you know, use the room, or if just kids want to come in and get coached, that's an open situation too. But the Saturday situation is really is a clinic who's going to be with Anthony Cephalo, who when he was a little kid, he was from, you know, he grew up in Florida a little bit, and actually worked with the twins. The three of them used to beat themselves to death when they were like 6, 7 years old. And then he moved back to New Jersey, where he was a 2-time state champ, 3-time finalist, and then he went to Ryder. But anyway, he's going to put on an hour clinic, and then the kids are going to get a chance to mix it up for a couple hours thereafter. And, you know, we're hoping, you know, everybody has a good time. I mean, obviously safe. And, you know, they get introduced to an opportunity where, you know, more people, a destination where more people can come and still work out, you know, and that's that's kind of the main deal there, you know. And,
Are you going to have to? I know a lot of clubs have kind of done away with like the old dropping in, like you used to be able to. But are you still going to offer drop in, or do?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, there'll be a registration, you know, there when they show up, and you know, a temperature check, waivers, things of that nature. You need an AAU card, and you know, that's pretty much it. You know, I think
Awesome. And you'll
$20
post
for the day. You know,
yeah.
so
Do you have a website or link already that you can post on here when we get off?
yeah, I need it. It's flwrestling.net, and I'll need to update that and put the new stuff in there. It's just, I swear, I feel like it's been crazy. And one of my worst faults is really, I'm involved in marketing publishing, but I don't do a good job of doing it for myself. You know, I mean, I was even apprehensive to come on the show, because I don't know. My dad always told me that, you know, if you're really good at something, you don't have to talk about yourself. Somebody else will do it for you. But I'm coming out here trying to do a little self-promotion, if you will, for what we've got.
Well, I think I have found that a lot in this community, because I've done, since April 6th, I've done over 200 of these, right? So.
Oh, hey, listen, you're doing a great job. I mean, like I said, when I first watched you, I was like going, this guy, how much does this guy really know? You know, and then I mean, just through attrition and the guys, you know, I mean, you've had real hammers and legends, you know, and so I mean, I'm glad to be part of the club, so to speak.
Yeah, you're on the legend side.
Age-wise, for sure.
Yeah, I asked Coach DeAugustino when I had him on. He spoke about making the Hall of Fame. He goes, and the first thing someone asked me was, "Man, how's it feel to make the Hall of Fame?" And he says, "Just means I'm old."
Well, there's something to it. I you know, I think it's, and maybe one day I'll be in there, but I think it's something it's nothing you really, I think, aspire to. You just keep doing this thing, and then you keep hanging around long enough. And like Mark said, hey man, you're old enough. There you go. I don't know. And I don't mean that as a put down or anything to the people involved, but I guess, you reach a certain maturity level or tenure in the sport, and it's neat to get recognized. So, and Mark, well deserving, great guy, known him for years, super coach, super family, the whole 9 yards.
That's cool. Hey, so you had mentioned that there was you had like a #1 guy in the country, future Olympian with you.
Well, so in my early years at Countryside, I was fortunate enough to be an assistant coach, and little Jared Frayer was coming through there, and when he was 10th grade in, and ironically, and then he went on to be an Olympian, and actually he was when I came back to Countryside at another point, he was supposed to come back and relieve me, and the whole idea, he was going to coach my kids, and then he got a call. He called me just after the Olympics, and I think it was 2008, and he said, hey, I got an opportunity to go to Iowa. I'm gonna still go for it. And I'm like, oh, darn it, but no. So Jared, it was neat because I got this, and you didn't know it at the time, but here you're working with a kid, and I remember, one of my fondest memories of Jared really is, I think his senior year, I wrestled with him, and I got up on him early, and we were doing a little match in the room, and then he comes storming back, man. I hung on, but it was, I said, holy cow, this kid's an animal, and so Jared, that whole thing is kind of cool. And then when I had the twins, I had the name for Connor, but we didn't have a name for the other boy. And you're going through names in your head, and it's like, that Jared's a good guy, that name's okay, so we'll do it. And then Jared Prince was the one that ended up being #1 in the country, when he graduated high school. So that was so I've had a chance to see some pretty good guys go through and, see them from the ground up. So I've had a chance.
Big hammer coming out of Countryside.
Well, Jared was Jared Frayer was Countryside. Jared Prince was actually out of Palm Harbor. So I had left Countryside. Coach Frayer, one of my mentors, there's many. I asked him, I said, what'd you do right with Jared? He says, well, I handed him over to Glenn Goodman. Don't coach your own kid. So I went to Palm Harbor, and I was just an assistant, but I got to still do a lot of hands-on stuff, but I didn't have to be the guy that was barking, finish that run hard, and push him to the nth degree. I just talked more the technical part. So
well, who's the next hammer to come out of your program?
I gotta say, I think Brian Berberia shows a lot of promise. He's a sophomore, very young, 14 years old right now. I think he turns 15 next month. And his older brother went on to be a 2-time state champ for me at Countryside, and he's now at the Naval Academy. And Brian, he's grown a lot even this summer as far as his understanding of the sport. And he didn't make states last year. He was just like I said, he was a young kid, 14 years old, and got beat by seniors in the regional, but he was like 55-5. He had a great year. He won the Steinbrenner tournament. He won, a lot of things. But I think this year, he gets a little bit of manly muscle going on. He'll be, you're going to see this kid. You will, for sure.
Nice. Awesome. That's always good. I like to, and I'm glad you said someone, because some coaches will be like, well, if I say this guy, the other guy's going to be mad at me. But no, you were quick to say, hey, Brian, he's the guy, and that's awesome.
The hardest thing, he's one of the few that's coming through the program right now that started wrestling prior to high school. I do have a number of kids that started as freshmen or even juniors or sophomores, and they're showing great improvement. But as far as, when you talk about somebody that could be really take it to the next level, Brian, he's got the right character, right background. He's a humble, quiet kid. And I kind of like those guys,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because they don't
hears this.
Yeah, well, he hears it from me every day. So, and even his brother, when I got his brother in his junior year, he had gone to states his sophomore year and was only 1-2, and then he only lost one match the last 2 years. So, finished third at NHSCA Nationals, and got a bad call there. But of course, whenever we lose, there's usually a bad call. But anyway, but it's tough. But no, he's keep your eye on that kid for sure.
I got a question. Was one of the big things with your twins picking school was going somewhere that would take both of them together?
That's a good question. I mean, and I'll tell you what, the process of finding a college or a school is a tough, taxing, nerve-wracking experience. And we went on a tour. We went on a tour with. We went to about 11 different schools, traveled 5,000 miles in like a 3-week period. But to answer your question, the only thing they had to do, I made them take their official visits together. As far as choosing the same school, I encouraged them, because I felt like I see so many kids that go away to college and, there's all this promise, and then, homesick, wrestling's not working out the way they want it. And then they don't finish, and I my thing to them was, hey, it's going to be nice if you have your best friend there. So, but, and the other thing too is it going to college and wrestling is tough. I mean, especially different. I mean, there's nothing but hammers in the room all the time, and things don't always work out as you think it will. And, injuries and all kinds of crazy things can happen. And it's like happened to Connor. Connor was a stud wrestler, and he got hurt his freshman year, had shoulder surgery. And then the twins only wrestled together in the lineup once, but Connor's going to be a Marine pilot now. So, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I asked because when I talked to the Riveras,
Okay.
They said, one of the big things is we wanted to stay together. So finding a school like, where they're going off to Campbell was happy to take them together. So that's why it stuck into my mind.
Right. Well, I mean, and here's I thought that because it was a twin package, it was going to be an easier deal to shop. And it's actually harder because financially these schools, people say, oh, I'm going to get a free ride or a full ride and all this other stuff. And they don't have those kind of resources. And it's tough. They've only got 9.9 or whatever the number is. And, and then if you break it out per weight class, really, they've only got, 2 or 3 slots every year, because they go freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And then once the senior graduates, now it circles back down. So if you've got 10 spots, they only get 2.5 available every year. So, and they're trying to hedge their bets. But anyway.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about finishing, I remember I had a conversation during my show, not live because he's that same guy. He likes to be behind the scenes, but I talked to Coach Palazzo.
Right.
He said that the goal for a college kid should be to finish college a wrestler. And he says you would be surprised how many don't. And we should really be focused on getting them there. And he says if you look at a freshman class and then you look at that same class by senior year, they're not all there. And
well, I can tell you from the 12, I think there was 12 kids, and obviously Navy's got a strong washout rate for a number of reasons. But I think of the 12 that went in to Navy with the twins, class, and they were at NAPS, I think 6 of them graduated, and Jared was the only one that really finished, in the starting lineup. So, I mean,
even on the wrestling team, he said you'd be surprised how many kids go, and then they just kind of fall by the wayside. He said
it's so darn competitive, and I think unfortunately, the Florida kids, the Florida good wrestlers, they get to a point where they can kind of walk through the state tournament, if you will, and they haven't been challenged for like the last 2 years. Like, as I said, the twins were undefeated, their last 2 years. I mean, and you got to be ready to tighten those boots up and go be ready to war again. And a lot of the kids, I think they think when they get to college, oh, I've made it. And hey, man, the battle's only begun.
And that's great that you say that, because one of the questions that I always ask college coaches, and I've had, I don't know, 47 of them or something on,
Oh, okay.
and from all divisions, from club coaching to NAIA to NCAAs, and then Division III, Division II, Division I. So I've talked to them, and the one big question I always ask them is, a lot of kids aren't prepared for college. They think I'm number one, I'm number five, I'm number 10, and they get to the college room and they just totally get surprised. So what can we tell kids now, their junior year or their senior year, when you're recruiting them, to try to get that head start, to prepare them mentally and mindset wise? And a lot of them have given their answers, and I hope kids listen to the videos, because like you said, yeah, I talked to even a Jared Frere, and he'll tell you, he'll say, yeah, I was the greatest guy in the county or in the state or in the country, but then when I got to the room, there was 10 of us, 30 of us, 50 of us that were the same thing. And I had friends that went on to play basketball, and they'll tell me, I was a high school All-American, and then when I got to college, all 12 of us were high school All-Americans. And then when I got to, when they get to the pros, everybody on the bench was an NCAA All-American, right? So
I mean, yeah, and that's, you go to college, and then everybody wrestles the state champ. Everybody was something. There's no chumps. There's no lay down. Not even in the practice room. You don't even get there's no, hey, I'm going to go take a break and wrestle this fish over here and coast. No, it's a war. They turn on that clock and say, hey, okay, wrestle live for 30 minutes. And there ain't no break at all. There's no easy takedowns. There's no layups, and then, when you talk about going to the Olympic level or whatever, hey, they're all NCAA champs. They're all, superstars. They all were at the top,
yeah,
and,
it's crazy.
and it's a matter of still staying hungry. And, college, you got, the malted beverages and the girls and the freedom and all these other distractions kick in. And all of a sudden, wrestling, that's not so much fun. I'm getting my butt kicked and otherwise, and I got to cut weight, but then there's these beer parties and other things going over. Man, I think I've had enough of this cutting weight noise. So the distractions are huge, and it's, and then next thing you know, they're going down that road, and then all of a sudden now scholarships or money grants are gone, and they're coming back home, so you got to be ready. I mean, it's a job. It's a job to wrestle in college. And,
I think the good high school coaches, or the great high school coaches like yourself, and, like all the ones we have around the state, are instilling that in their kids to prepare them for that. Because I think you see that that's what they're getting into. But yeah,
you got to stay humble. You got to stay hungry. I mean, period.
And the difference in wrestling, like a lot of these guys say, I didn't know how to really hand fight. And then I got to college, and I was great in high school, but I got to college, and man, the one thing I had to learn was how to do that, because everything's 2 to 1. It's not easy to take someone down anymore. It's not easy to ride them out anymore. It's not easy. And I was never a wrestler. This is just what I'm learning from the wrestlers.
Right.
So,
well, to circle back around, the kid that's giving the clinic on next Saturday, Cephalo, and he was from New Jersey, a 1 division state. So there's only one division. There's only one state champ that comes out of there. Down here, we got 3, so there's 1, and he won it his freshman year. His sophomore year, didn't even make the tournament. And then won it his junior year, and then was runner up his senior year. So, and it wasn't because he had a letdown. I mean, like a mental letdown. He went up a couple weight classes, and it was tough. I mean, and New Jersey, man, they war. I mean, it's a bloodbath up there, really,
yeah,
so.
I talked to Coach Ayers, and this year they had I think it was the first women's state tournament in Atlantic City.
Okay.
And he said, so I could only imagine how big the men's is, but there was 760 girls that made it there. So if that's girls just got sanctioned, imagine, what is there, 1,100 guys probably in that tournament?
I don't know, honestly. I know a number of the kids from when the twins were growing up, and we wrestled a lot of them. And, hey, there's only 1 state champ. So that tells you I mean, right there, how tough it is, so not to knock the other states, but I mean, some states have 6. I mean, so, you can, you can see your path to win. And unfortunately, in the end, those guys are the ones that, they think they're a state champ and they're going on to college. And then they realize, oh, shoot, if we had put them all together, I may have been 6th in my state, really, So
Yeah.
somebody would have, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3, a large state. But yeah, I've had some people tell me that to go through the California program is something.
And California's one, and they got athletes out there too. I mean, they got athletes, so yeah, it's just as far as a kid trying to pin his future on wrestling, it's a tough go, and it's not as rosy as you think. Hey, it's cool. I remember getting calls from Tom Ryan and at Ohio State and all those other ones, and their job is to keep getting guys in and see to it that you get a degree, but their job is to win matches and put the best guy on the mat. And there's no guarantees, so you gotta be ready to war.
Yeah, and it's been cool for me to hear a lot of these cool stories and talk to guys and kind of hear how the mind of an athlete at that level thinks and a coach at that level thinks. And
Right.
And I can't wait till my son has a match and I react a different way now from learning from all you guys than I would have reacted before. He's getting ready, like in the quarterfinals this year, he had to face Rivera. I mean, there's nothing I could have said to get him past a minute there with Rivera,
Right.
but most guys don't, right? So I was like, okay.
I tell you, it's nerve wracking as a parent and a coach, but enjoy it. It goes too fast. It goes way too fast.
Yeah, I'm sure you miss it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most sad thing for me is when the NCAAs didn't happen this year, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to go to the EIWA to see the qualifying tournament because I was at our state tournament, and I took it for granted that okay, well, not exactly, but I thought he would make the NCAA tournament, and we were thrilled that he did because he didn't have an automatic bid, and he had a really good tournament, and then now I don't get to see him wrestle ever again, so that's kind of sad. But in looking back on it, man, I as a dad, I was blessed. I mean, I had a heck of a run, gotten to spend time with them, and it's too short, and it goes by, and you keep on looking forward to that next thing, and then it's over. And they and as the wrestlers, the kids, they feel the same way too. So
Yeah. Oh, a Marine Corps pilot isn't that bad.
no, I mean, I think Connor.
What's the other one doing? What was his job?
Well, Jared's going to be he's going to be in the Navy. He's going to be on the what is it, the USS Truxton, a destroyer out of Norfolk. So not too shabby either.
Yeah, 'cause they have to serve. They make a commitment to serve for like 5 years or something.
Yeah, 5 years. So and as I told them, and a lot of people said, well, they got to serve 5 years. I said, yeah, they got a job for 5 years. That's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
which and you come out of the Naval Academy and you're still highly sought after. So if you want to get out or go, or stay in, there, I mean, and especially in this time, I mean, I feel bad for a number of the other kids that just finished and they had internships and whatever going on. And I'm sure many of them, their opportunities didn't pan out now. So, and that's sad,
Yeah.
so.
For sure. Anytime like I had those kids on from Stanford, my heart was just breaking listening to those kids tell their story and how they got the phone calls and
The rug's pulled out from under them,
yeah, you hear a kid like Real Woods was like,
right.
He said it just like since I was 7 years old, all I wanted to be was a national champ at Stanford.
Sure.
And you could
Well,
hear
and that, you asked the question earlier about, why did you choose Navy or how did that go down? It's like, and as sad it was that Jared didn't get to wrestle at the tournament, as I tell a lot of people, I said, to be honest with you, we were always planning for the day when wrestling was going to be over, not the NCAA tournament. So, our goal was, wrestling was always a means to an end, because it will end, and it ends abruptly. It ends hard. It ends usually with a loss,
Yeah.
and and it's humbling. Only one guy out of the 10 weight classes is going to go out with his hand raised. So hedge your bets, and plan for life after wrestling, because there's no guarantees.
Yeah. You just feel like, kids in college shouldn't have to make that decision right now.
No, I agree with you, but
Or you feel bad,
I do, but like I said, it's gonna happen. It's gonna end. So prepare yourself.
Yeah. Shane McCall says, I heard he has a lot of awesome heat wave stories.
Oh, yeah, the heat waves. When the kids were growing up, Gary Sherman and I, he and I helped put together some teams of youth, and I've got some cool pictures of those teams. And I think there's almost every kid in the picture ended up being a Florida State champion. I think 4 or 5 of them went on to be NCAA qualifiers. Kind of cool. So
awesome.
Chase Singletary and Pat Lugo and Zachary Sherman. I'm sure there's I'm Jared, my son, and I'm sure there's more of those will just come to mind real quick. But anyway,
yeah, that's
neat stuff. Anyway, it was good times, good people. Once again, they go too fast, but those are bonds that anytime I see, I saw Casey Singletary at the state tournament, and it's always neat to go up and give somebody a hug, and because those were special times, and they're special people.
Yeah, I don't know them personally, but I know the story, and I know the story of the family and how big into wrestling, and just, obviously when what happened, you could see how much they missed wrestling, because I saw pictures of hundreds of people down there to.
Yeah, he was, Colby was part of those teams too. That no parent should have to go through that.
Yeah, they say that children should bury their parents, not the other way around.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah. But it's cool, man. This has been great. I'm glad that you pulled the britches up and said, I'll do this.
Well, thanks for having me on. I hope we get a good turnout for next Saturday, and everybody can have a good time, and then hopefully it'll be a home for more people that want to keep getting on the mat, if you will, or want to get back on the mat. Maybe we can make it work out, and it'd be a destination, because the only, as I say to the kids the only day you don't get better is the day you don't show up. So
it seems like a lot of the coaches out there, I think, and not in a bad way, but I think everybody kind of took having the school facility for granted. And now with the inability to take advantage of the school facility, a lot of these coaches are going, wow, we need to go find a place. You have, Avramitis has. I see Walker posting online that he's looking for a place. I had somebody message me.
Come on, Danny. You're welcome.
Yeah. I had someone message the other day saying, man, if school doesn't open up, I'm going to have to find a building for my kids too. So you kind of see just where it's going. I'm almost like, man, I should just go find a warehouse and just charge fees to different teams. Just come in, pay $100 for the day, have your team there.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do, because fortunately, I was able to work out a situation, through Dustin D'Annunzio and a friend of his, and they were able to make an opportunity for us happen, because finding the warehouse space is difficult to begin with, and it's financially taxing, and then also getting your hands on some mats, because all our mats are kind of locked down in the buildings, so, and they're not going to cut them loose, so and to try to buy a new mat is like $7-8 grand, so it's just tough, but just trying to find a way to navigate the waters right now. So
it seems you guys over there on the Gulf have really got, I never knew, as I said, I never knew how many great wrestling programs are over there, and in such a short distance from each other. So anybody doing anything and offering for the others is great, just to have a facility to go to now. And that's cool, man. Well, I got a few questions for you. Ready?
Okay. All right. Hopefully I got the right answers.
All right. Burgers or wings?
Wings.
Freestyle or Greco?
Freestyle.
Stone crabs or lobster?
That's a tough one. I actually am kind of a blue crab guy because I'm actually from the Maryland area. So,
There
but
you
but
well, there's no rules to the game. If you can say blue crab, and I'll accept
blue crab is where my heart is for sure.
that. I like it. Now I know you're talking about doing a rumble. Now, do you recommend lives or clinics?
This is my first rumble, so but I kind of like the reason I'm doing it too is because I like that idea because I feel like on these tournaments it's just so much standing and waiting around, and then you get a limited number of matches. So clinics, and you're getting me into down another rabbit hole. Clinics are great, and I've done and participated and seen many throughout the country, but I think it's hard when your coach doesn't go with you. And my rule is if you go to a clinic, you better take one thing away. And unfortunately, if your coach doesn't go, it doesn't get reinforced. So, that's kind of, so I think live's the way to go.
And I've had, I remember hearing.
But I've gone to, I went to Penn State, I went to Ohio State, I went to Virginia, I went to many clinics to pick up one move, really,
Yeah, I remember hearing Coach Scott up at CFWA say, hey, I'd rather see you come here to a rumble than go off to like an AAU tournament or something on the coast or wherever, because you may get 2 or 3 matches there, but you come to this rumble, we've got state champs here, state qualifiers.
And you can walk out and you can pick up the matchup where, otherwise you got to let the bracket or let the pairings fall, where they may, and maybe you don't even get a chance to get the guy you want to get. So
yeah, and you get to wrestle for 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever, and you get 20 matches.
Way more goes. So I applaud them for. I don't know if they were the first one to really start doing it, but that's where I saw it first, so to speak, and I think they're onto something.
Yeah, well, they do okay, right? So
yeah, they do a bang up job over there. I remember when they were just starting out, and it's been 10 plus years, I think, shortly, and they spread their wings and they're off, doing the national prep tournament next year. And anyway, that's a great program.
Yeah, hopefully that brings back some good stuff, right? During the off season, do you recommend sticking with your club, or do you recommend going off and doing camps?
Well, with the Twins, I think going off and spreading your wings a little bit. I'm not as much of a freestyle Greco guy, because I think there's enough folk style out there to keep going. And as a state, I think we start, because there's no middle school wrestling, we're behind. So to try to change gears, I'm not against it, but I think just keep going, just keep staying on the mat, and I think it is good to get out and spread your wings a little bit, but as long as you're on the mat, mat time.
But just stay active.
Yeah.
You prefer an IPA or a stout?
Stout.
All right. So there's a Grateful Stout down at St. Pete. That's my favorite. I like it.
Okay.
I'll throw in a thing there. Do you prefer duals or IBTs?
Once again, they each have their own purpose. IBT, there's times where you can't see the right guys, and I always like going to like the knockout or something like that, because if you place at the knockout, you got a good shot of, knowing where you're really standing. Duels, I think, if you have a young team, they get more goes and get a chance to improve quicker than they would at an IBT. So it depends.
Yeah, Coach Paul Garcia said, that's right. Used to tell the kids to use the $500 Granby he learned one summer, and then spread out, learn from as many as you can. A tweak here and there helps.
Yep.
And speaking of that, I know there's some coaches, and I think I try to tell my son this. I think you should have your full-time coach and your full-time focus, and you can go off and hit some of these clinics, or if you're in a town, you go and roll. But do you agree that if you have one coach, kind of let them stay with them, because they've got you on a path, they're growing you?
somebody posted an interesting question to me the other day. He said, "Hey, Mark, if you had to do it over again, would you have sent the kids to Lake Highland Prep?" And my answer was no. And that's not against what they're doing there, because what they're doing is great. But we started in a path, and we were working with, Dustin D'Annunzio, and we spent in summers at Harvard, and he had a certain philosophy, and he, lead leg and single defense and certain things. And I felt we started down a path, and we needed to stay with it. And I think it really worked, because they walked right into college and they were competitive right out of the gate.
So you did keep them. You did stay with the coach, and you believe in staying with the coach as a
Well, they stayed with me, but I was learning from other guys who, their godfather Dustin, who had a real knack and had gone all over the place, and he took them under their wing, and then I just kind of stayed along the path whatever Dustin did. So
cool. Yeah, and I think that's
but once again, I don't know that I'm not saying it's wrong to go somewhere else, but I think sometimes, you're getting, it's too much. I talk about, wrestling's like a puzzle. And, do you want to play with a lot of pieces, or like a kindergarten puzzle that has a few pieces? And if you can continually try to keep it simple, stupid, so to speak, then I think you're going to get farther than trying to do too many crazy things,
That makes sense. And then and you wouldn't have sent them there because they were already going down a path that you were happy with, and doing all this grabbing somewhere. That makes sense to me. So
I think the biggest thing for them is they had each other, so that did make a difference too. So, but it's rare. It was rare for somebody to come out of a program like Palm Harbor. Palm Harbor never had state champions before they were there, and but it worked out. So whatever,
yeah. That's a good thing. What coach said, that's an individual case by case. Some need to break away and learn and grow.
Yep. Great.
Ribeye or T-bone?
Ribeye.
All right. I know that you were involved in the state tournament for many years. Would you say seed it or leave it alone?
I think it would be nice if we could seed it, but I don't know that it's really possible, so, and even if you have formulas and stuff, and I'll be honest with you, I watched Jared because of various different things that happened. He got dumped down at 28 seed this year at the NCAA tournament, which I thought was absurd, but whatever. I don't know you'll ever get the perfect answer on that. I think what we've got works pretty well, and hopefully you don't end up with the 1 and 2 on the same side of the bracket. But it happens. I've seen it happen many times,
Well, like it happened this year, right?
Yeah. And it just, that's the way it goes,
How often at a Florida State tournament do you get to see a match as big as that one? Like, these two weren't just ranked 1 and 2 in Florida; they were ranked 1 and 2 in the country.
Yeah, that was just it was just a tough break. I don't know that I can ever. Nationally, definitely not. But it's not uncommon that we unfortunately get the top 2 guys in the same weight class. I'm sure it probably happens maybe a couple times in each class. But that was just a tough break.
Yeah, because these guys are nationally. That was incredible to see. I've only been a part of the last couple of tournaments going to watch it, but to see the whole crowd and the whole.
No, it was crazy.
Every ref, just anybody that wasn't on a mat to come around and then to see both of those schools were like right next to each other in the stands, and just to hear the whole atmosphere, it was pretty awesome.
No, it's good stuff. When Jared, we were fortunate or unfortunate, if you will, when Jared wrestled James Flint from Brandon all the time. We were in the same region, so fortunately we never got stuck on the same side. But and he was nationally ranked also, so it was it's not uncommon to have 2 really good guys, but to get them stuck on the same side, that's just dumb luck.
And it's crazy that they were
Yep.
Just, I think I heard from people like around the country that were like, wow, the top two kids in the state are from Florida. Well, tells you a lot about what Florida wrestling has become, right?
Well, as I've said this a number of times, Florida wrestling, when I first moved down here, you kind of Florida wrestling, who comes out of Florida? Well, guess what? We had 3 Olympians in 1 year. In 2012, there was 3 Olympians that were Florida products. We had the best of the best in Florida can compete. We unfortunately just don't have the depth, and I think that's attributed to the lack of middle school wrestling. But the best of the best of Florida, they can compete, and they do compete. And Pat Lugo, showed that this year, and and you can go on and on. Number of guys.
I'm excited to see the wave of kids that I've been watching the last couple of years. I'm excited to see what they do from our state, from South Florida and where you're at, and up here in Orlando. I'm excited to be able to see some of those kids compete at the next level. So
yeah, I don't know them as well as I did, when the Twins were involved, but it's always good to see the Florida guys doing well, and I do believe that with some success that Pat and Perry and a number of kids and Keyson and Jared and so forth, number of guys that ironically, in Jared's all-class tournament that he won his senior year, the other 2 guys ended up being All-Americans. So but there's a number of Florida guys out there that you don't realize. You got Jared Frayer, you got Nate Engel, you got Scotty Sentes. There's a number of guys out there, and there's a bunch more that know what Florida is, and they come down here and they are plucking them off. So it's cool to see. It's good to see.
do you think that do you see your boys coming back and giving back to wrestling a little bit as they get through their Navy promises?
It's in your blood. I don't, I'm sure they'll do something, and it just depends, eventually when you get to be a dad, and unless you get all girls, it makes it tough. But now that's changing too. But no, I would think that they would, they come down, every time they come down now, they're always doing a clinic or coming in and rolling around the room or something, so, I think once a wrestler, always a wrestler, to be honest with you.
How I know, and then we'll go. I can hear them cooking dinner downstairs, but
Oh, sorry.
Obviously wrestling shapes a character,
Mhm.
but how much more character did the Navy give those 2? Like, what, from the men that came in at the beginning to what they are now, what would you say was the biggest benefit from them choosing the Naval Academy, other than they have a job for 5 years?
Yeah. and that's the one I probably appreciate the most.
Yeah.
I think it was a whole nother level of challenge. And like I said, when you look at the class they had just in the NAPS thing, and only half of them are still there, I think it speaks to the character of people they are, and their desire to see things through. I don't think I could do what they did, because I know a number of the challenges they faced, especially Jared. And those guys are special guys. Locksmith, is one of their buddies, Florida wrestler, got out of, he also graduated. He's a Marine.
That's the kid from Osceola.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him on right before graduation.
Nope. Yep. And he actually, he mentioned the Twins, which was kind of cool.
Yep.
But those guys are tight, man. They're tight because it's the hard times that shape you, not the good times, actually. But just, I think the perseverance, 5 years of a grind, and having somebody on your butt 24/7. I mean, those guys, they don't get weekends, not until they're seniors. And I don't know if Jared ever got one, but they sacrifice, but it pays off in the end. So I think just the determination, perseverance, and the academic rigors, I mean, the boys were taking 18, 20 credit hours almost every semester, because they graduate with a double, a master's in science and a BA. So
That's
Uh,
awesome.
it's and they're serving our country. I mean, as a parent, I don't think I could be more proud. So
Yeah, I don't blame you. We have, uh, there's, um, there's someone that works at the First Academy, and her two sons, um, basketball players. And the one son has been at Naval Academy already for 3 years playing basketball there. And then the young son did this year signed a letter of intent and is going there next year to play basketball. So she's like, man, I
well,
couldn't.
and the athletes is a whole nother level too, because that chews up your time like nobody's business. I mean, did you get some perks out of it? But I mean, you still, there's no slack at all. I mean, I could tell you stories, where Jared, he had to march even though he missed something and he was doing a wrestling thing. It didn't matter. You still had he had 15 hours of tour. So yeah, I mean, it's tough, but in the end, anything worth anything, you pay the price,
Yeah. So Coach Garcia says Dake or Chamizo?
uh, Dake's a stud. I mean, Dake's cool, and exciting and stuff. Dake's just, he's a grinder, man. He finds a way, I mean, it's going to be fun. It'll be fun.
Exciting. And then I keep thinking of new stuff. So before I go, but as you were talking about the Navy, I was like, oh man, I wonder what was. So you got to see them win a state championship.
Yep.
And then you got to see the Naval Academy graduation.
Well, ironically, we didn't. That was unfortunate this year. They didn't get to do the throw the hat in the air, so we missed all that.
I was gonna say what was like what was the best experience, right? And well, obviously the state championship right now, because you didn't get to see the.
The whole Navy thing was, you're seen in a different light, and the number of people, and the Twins, they hate to wear their uniform because people always come and say, hey, thank you for your service and stuff. And I was like, dude, you ought to be proud, man. I'm proud,
Oh, sure.
Just the whole experience. And I don't even think that, the Twins are pretty humble guys, and they never made a big deal. I mean, they were flattered to win the state title, but they always knew there was somebody better, and the same with the Naval Academy. Hey, they're just, they're kind of one of 1,000. That's the way they see themselves. But, maybe one day they realize just how cool I think they are. But
Yeah. Well, I think though, like I talk to young men now, they're like, man, I suck. I came in fourth at state. It's terrible. I hate myself, whatever. Right. They're like, I can just went better. I said, well, you know what? 20 years from now, when you open up the book and you're a state placer, you're going to be like, yeah, I was a state placer. Right. But right.
yeah, I mean, it's hard because you're always looking forward. You're always looking for the next mountain to climb, the next practice to get better. Before I came on the show, I was kind of thinking about things, and I was always trying to push the Twins, and we were always trying to, like I said, trying to get Jared to be number one in the country, or Connor to, win a state title. But in hindsight now, I can just say, it's been a fun ride, and I hope I still got I made some promises to those parents, so maybe I got another 10 years left in me. I don't know. Maybe they'll shoo me out because I can't do anything on the mat anymore. I can talk a good game, but
That's cool. Well, and you still have some kids behind them that you're working with, right?
absolutely. And I actually have a nephew who's, I don't know, 12. He's still, or 13. He's still trying to figure it out, but I'm optimistic he'll come out the other side. He's young, but just keep hanging around. You just keep hanging around the sport, and good things will happen.
Yeah, well, it's awesome, man. I can't believe we went an hour here.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, man.
I mean, I know there's a clock somewhere, so
yeah, I want to keep going, but I know that at some point I got to go.
yeah. Well, if you ever want to pick my brain again, and I've had a fun ride, and believe me, the whole college experience is something worth sharing, because a lot of parents get caught up in things and enamored with things, and it's a trap, and that's not a knock on any coach or anything. But you got to make sure you're looking out for your boy and their best interest, and don't get caught up in the lights. If there's any one thing
Yeah, I
I'd
think
like to share with them, with parents out there.
One thing my wife always tells Daniel is, this is a sport, and be as great as you can be at it, but you have to understand that the education is
Oh,
where you're going to succeed.
it's a means to an end, believe me, because like I said, the lights are going to go out. And ironically, the last thing I'll try to shut up, if you will. But the Twins, we've got, if I could show you a picture of their wall, I mean, it's just covered with medals and trophies. And when they come home, the Twins tease me that, or especially Jared, he says, "You know what that says to me, Dad?" He's looking at all this. He goes, "I had no social life. Every one of those was a weekend. Every one of those was cutting weight. Everyone, it's a big sacrifice. And to be the best, you do sacrifice. If you want to be at the top, you got to be different than everybody else."
Yeah, I had Yanni on.
Okay. Yeah. I did see you had him on.
And, people say to me, "Well, you didn't get to have a youth life," or whatever he said. And he said, "You know what? If you want to have an average life, go do what the average human does.
And he's
If you
dead
want
on.
to be great, then you're going to have to make the sacrifices and go do what the great do." So, yeah, if I wanted to be like the average kid at my age, I would have went and done what the average kids do, but that's not what my goals were. So if that's what your goal is, go do that. But if you want to be great, the sacrifices.
If you want to stand out and be a part, then that's what you're doing. You're not like everybody else. You're doing the extra things that the other kids don't do. You're putting in the extra time. And I think, I think Jared says that, kind of tongue in cheek, but I don't think he would trade it in at all, because he never would have been able to go to the Naval Academy. He was a shy kid, and Connor too, and it shaped them to be what I think are great people, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think the wall's for us anyway, not for the kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Believe me, one of my biggest mistakes was helping Jared try to chase a belt one time, and I had him lose weight. And it was a big mistake. Cutting weight. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, yeah. Don't get caught up. Don't get over caught up, and it's easy to do as a parent.
Team Fluffy says, "Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Daniel." Well, thanks, Team Fluffy, for watching us. And with that being said, Coach, you have a great dinner, and I look forward to being able to get out on the road one day here and coming down and going live from your club.
Sure. Hey, just you got my number, and you're always welcome. Thank you very much for your time, and hopefully some people enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. I did.
Good.
That's what matters to me. No, I hope everyone else did too.